Okay, hey everybody, welcome to the Cannabis Oil Secrets live stream. Today is December 2nd, and it says 5 p.m., 5:05 p.m. In Pacific time. Where I'm at 6 p.m., 6:05 p.m. I'm in Arizona, and we're trying out something as far as the formatting, a little bit different. There's actual two live streams going on at once on YouTube. One's with the vertical display and one's with the horizontal display. So we'll see how that goes. And we did have some technical difficulties coming on. So I think we got all those squared away. Hopefully my voice is being heard. Everything looks good, technically on board, but let me know in any chat or in a comment or something if you have trouble hearing me, etc. And let me share my screen with you. So today, let me go over what we're going to cover first. So today we're going to go over the inherent dangers of getting tested for cancer and other chronic illness. It's not just cancer, it's all kinds of chronic illness, from chronic fatigue to chronic pain, etc. All right, there's a bunch of tests that happen, and some of them have just risks themselves, and then other tests, the chemicals that you ingest to make the tests, work, like so the markers, to have the markers or whatever, those have some inherent dangers as well. So we're going to cover how to either minimize the risk or eliminate the risk. Now we understand that you want to get tested to make sure that things aren't going berserk and haywire in a bad direction, right? And you want to make sure that what you're doing is working, and things aren't getting worse, and all this kind of stuff, and and you want to see that things are hopefully getting better. Okay, so I understand all of that, so that's why I say minimize the risk, or eliminate. So just real quick, spoiler alert kind of a thing. One way to minimize the risk greatly is to extend the period of time in between testing, and I'll cover how to do that effectively without worrying about if things are going haywire or not, in between. Okay, towards the end of the presentation. I'm going to share my screen with you and show you sort of what we're going to be covering. See, entire screen. Share. All right. So, and this is being recorded, and it'll be automatically posted on YouTube in the live stream section, and then it'll be in our group a little bit later than that, like this evening or tomorrow during the day, and you'll have access to the to a replay and stuff like that, and you'll be able to ask questions in the group if you didn't view it live, etc. And or if you have questions that come in your head afterwards, you just go into our group, which is free if you're not a member, and you ask questions in there, and they'll get answered directly, underneath your comment, which will be, underneath this video. All right. So that's how to take care of that. So what you're seeing here is I went into this thing called Perplexity.ai. It's a research, tool for AI tool. They use a bunch of different, research-based AIs, ChatGPT and all the other ones that are out there, Claude and everything else. And there's probably about 9 of them that are in here, and they and it just gets it does deep research for you on different things. I didn't really do deep research for this particular subject because it's we're just covering the inherent dangers and what to do about it. But like just doing general research as well, it brings up some very, very awesome stuff. So we're going to go over this, but first I want to go over how cancer and chronic illness is formed, because if you don't understand that, then you won't understand why this stuff is dangerous. Okay, so and hopefully you guys can see me okay. Like I said, this is the first time doing the dual vertical and horizontal presentation at the same time on YouTube. All right, so let's see. So we're going to go over how cancer and chronic illness is formed, and then what toxicity is basically, and how to minimize toxicity, around you and inside of you, so you can be able to fight cancer and other chronic illness. Okay, that's a big deal. So let me go over to a whiteboard real quick so you can cover that. All right, so go into some text here. So you have your immune system, right? And then we'll just go over here. Oop. All right. Make one more of these. All right. So you have health, we have cancer, and we'll get rid of this one for right now. So you have health, then you have cancer or massive toxicity, right? Then you have your immune system. So your immune system, it has a bunch of stuff in there, mainly minerals and vitamins, amino acids, and so all that together could be like enzymes and other structures that benefit your body and enable you to fight off sickness and disease and remain healthy, right? So your immune system is comprised of these things. And when you have an immune system that has an abundance of minerals and vitamins and amino acids, and it's able to make all the wonderful things in your body that keeps it healthy, keeps it regulated, and part of it also is the cannabinoids, right? Because your endocannabinoid system regulates every other system in your body. So, so these four things right here are crucial, and they could create all kinds of different structures in your body, and the endocannabinoid system, like I said, it balances every other system in your body, so it creates and maintains health in your body. That's what your overall immune system does. And these minerals, vitamins, amino acids, cannabinoids, they're the components that comprise the immune system. So we come in contact with these things called toxins, environmental toxins, toxins in your food, the air, water, and then also stress. It could also create toxicity. So people and, like environments, whatever can cause toxicity in your body as well. So you have these things called toxins, and they can wreak havoc in your body. They make you ill. Okay. So if you have an abundance of toxins, then you get more and more sick. So to step back a bit, there's not just health and sickness. There's in between vibrant health and death, there's 6 different stages of illness. Okay. Like the beginning stages are getting a cold when cold season is around, getting the flu when flu season's around, or having dry skin, a runny nose, that kind of stuff. That's the beginnings. And it goes into deeper things like, pre-diabetes, pre-cancer, whatever. And then you actually have the things like diabetes and cancer, and then ultimately death. So there's 6 different stages, between vibrant health and death. So when you have toxicity inside of you, it'll start that downward spiral, into those stages, from the dry skin and runny nose to more serious things that are going on. right? And by the way, when you have those more serious things that are going on and they're maintained by a medication, right, supposedly, so you still have that disease. It's just being, suppressed. The symptoms of it are being suppressed by a medication. But so you're still overly toxic, and that's why you'll get sick easily and all that kind of stuff. When you don't have that toxicity, then you don't get sick easily, when everybody else does, etc. And we've proven that time and time again over the thousands of people that we worked with, like, teachers and especially teachers, because they're around kids that are sick and other teachers that are sick. They're in their rooms, with a bunch of kids, and their break rooms are in with other teachers that get sick all the time, and they're getting sick for weeks at a time now. And our teachers that work with us, they either don't get sick, during the different seasons, or if they do get sick, they're down for like 1 day to 3 days, not like the 10 days to 2 weeks or more that the teachers are going out for. And that's because their level of health and they're lower and they're maintaining low levels of toxicity, because we're exposed to toxins daily, so it's impossible basically to not have any. But having the low toxicity enables them to be healthier and enjoy their lives better, and have the energy to work with the kids and stuff like that. So that's just an example of having health and vibrant health inside of you, and not only being able to fight off the hardcore sickness and disease, but just any sickness and disease. Because you're at a state where you can. If you're at the lower levels, like of sickness, stage 1, 2, or 3, there's like 6 different stages. Then, like if we're at stage 2 or stage 3, then it's going to be almost impossible to do that, because you have the toxins inside of you. And when you get more toxins, you get sick, and then it just keeps on happening, and you go into lower and lower stages until you finally do get the cancer. You do get the leukemia, whatever it is that you have a predisposition for, right? So you need to understand that. And also another, by the way, is with each of these stages, those 6 stages, the environment inside of you is different, all right, with each of those stages. They all involve different levels of sickness, and then later on dis-ease, right? But those environments change in the more and more toxic environments, and then when you get, as you try to get healthy, they'll change into less and less toxic environments, and ultimately into a healthful environment. But as they go into those toxic stages and those environments change, then the type of sickness that could exist inside of you will change, and the type of critters inside of you will change, right? So in other words, like if you're at like the beginning levels of sickness and toxicity, and you're just at like the runny nose stage, and I get a cold every winter or whatever, if you're just at that stage, then like parasites and things like that aren't going to be flourishing inside of you. They're going to come and go, but your stomach acids and your immune system should be able to fight them off and beat them, right? Because they exist, and especially if you eat meat and sushi and stuff like that, you're exposed to them all the time. Then, but you're able to fight that off, and the environment that in that stage 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever of sickness. That those 6 different stages, parasites can't live in those environments, right? But other like bacteria and types of fungus and different things like that can, so the critters will change and stuff like that along the way too. That's sort of a topic. It's a wide discussion, but I just wanted to make you aware of that. So if you hear it from me at different times, you'll start to understand, and the pieces will start to fall in place. Okay, so let's get back to the presentation. I apologize for veering off a little bit, but that's an important tidbit to understand. I'll get into that. I'll probably make that specific topic one of these live streams. But getting back into this, so so the cancer is obviously a later stage in those six different stages, right? Of health, and it's getting more towards death as opposed to closer to vibrant health. So so as we're exposed, what causes the cancer is the overexposure to toxins or the inability to get rid of the toxins, right? So you're either your diet is like the food that you eat and ingest, your lifestyle choices are not correct, right? And they're actually causing toxicity instead of removing it, which it should, and then there's just the toxins that we're exposed to daily, especially the ones that we're bombarded with now, because if you understand what's going on, whatever people that are out there are trying to kill us basically with all these toxins, So, but that over toxicity is what eventually causes cancer. It causes each of those stages of sickness until you get to the ultimate, levels where you're at cancer or other, leukemia or whatever it may be, right? So, the testing that is done, so we try to get you to a point to remove the toxins, right? Through cleansing, detoxification, and then you sort of learn how to remove the toxins from the food that you're eating, change the food that you're eating, and if you're having like hardcore cancer, you may do some fasting, etc. All those things are designed just to remove toxins from your body. Those things are not designed to kill cancer, okay? They're designed to remove toxins from your body. So that's the idea behind everything. The idea behind the medical establishment is to kill cancer, right? And that's why they end up killing people along the way. Remember the chemotherapy has a 3% success rate, so they kill you. Not 100 people lined up, 97 will die, 3% may live, but their life will be horrible. With the holistic, or terrain theory of thinking, as like medical, allopathic medicine is germ theory. The way we think over here is what's called terrain theory, and holistic, kind of thinking, where the whole of the body, the whole of the plant, all that kind of stuff. So that has to do with removing toxicity from your body, making it, in a position of vibrant health where your immune system is like, a team of warriors that could go out and destroy anything, cancer, anything that is trying to exist in your body. They say that cancer is the malfunction in your mitochondria or whatever, and it goes back to the, these fermentation or, type of processing of energy and stuff like that. So you fix the mitochondria, you fix, the energy pathways, and that's done by feeding your body with, the right nutrients, cannabinoids, the proper types of minerals, like with our Shilajit and MSM, the vitamins, amino acids that you can get, not so much of the food you eat anymore, but through things like chlorella and spirulina and stuff like that, right? Not protein powders, which are fucking viciously bad for you, like 99.999% of the ones out there are viciously bad for you, So it's doing certain things just to get all of that health in there, to build up the immune system, learning how to remove toxins from your body, then actually doing it, right? Doing the cleansing, doing the detoxification, doing proper water fasting and things like that if necessary, after you've primed your body for it, because if you didn't prime your body for it, then you could do more harm than good, cause more toxicity instead of less, and then cause violent reactions because you're releasing toxins out and then reabsorbing them, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So having a plan is the thing, like not just doing good stuff, but having a plan to follow to where you could have an expected outcome, and you'll be able to gauge things along the way. So if things aren't going towards that expected outcome, then you need to readjust the plan or the protocol protocols that you're following, like because a plan will involve multiple protocols, so it's a sort of a complex thing, but you have to but to implement it is very simple. You just have to understand what's going on, and then once you understand what's going on, then you just implement it, right? So we're talking about testing. All this led to testing. So hopefully you understand that toxins create the sickness, from stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and ultimately death of illness, right? We're not talking the stages of cancer, but the stages of sickness and disease that go from vibrant health to death, right? There are 6 different stages in between there, so, and cancer is one of those. So minimizing toxicity allows your body to be able to build its immune system, which will fight off cancer and other sickness and disease inside of you, right? It's just been proven time and time again. So let's get back over to the actual, harm, the purpose of this presentation, which was the inherent harms of the tests that are done for cancer and other chronic illness, and also the contrast dyes and other solutions that are used also. So like I said, I went into this thing called Perplexity, just to show that it's a research tool. If you weren't here at the beginning, it's an AI research tool that uses multiple AIs and does deep research, and it's designed just for research, like people that do like clinical studies and all that kind of stuff use Perplexity, for their information. So this isn't like some out there, like woo-woo kind of a website. This is like AI being fed, what's out there in the world, right? And it's enough to tell you what the risks are and things like that. So so I just asked it basically. I'm doing some research on. I first asked about contrast dyes that are, and other solutions that are used, for MRIs and other kinds of testing methods, right? So and it came out with there's this gadolinium, which is one of the main things, and it's the one that's used with MRIs, right? And it's like in here, it's like may cause side effects, such as joint pain, muscle fatigue, and cognitive issues, and it can accumulate in the brain and other tissues, leading to ongoing research about its long-term safety, right? And then people with kidney disease are at risk for nephrogenic systemic fibrosis, NSF, nephrogenic systemic fibrosis, which is just hardening of your kidneys, right? So they can't function properly and filter, because your kidneys are your liver is a big filtration system. Your kidneys, are your other huge filtration system, right? There's a few different ways that you filter stuff, but your kidneys are a huge part of that. And if they are fibrotic, stiff, then they can't function properly, and massive sickness and disease can be caused from that, right? So other contrast dyes such as iodine-based agents used in CT scans can provide allergic reactions ranging from mild skin rashes to severe anaphylaxis, and all kinds of stuff. There's symptoms, nausea, vomiting, all these different things that could happen. Mild side effects, hives, skin irritation, and all these different things, which are sort of like the beginning stages of sickness, right? Like we talked about, the runny nose, the little, dry skin, all that kind of stuff. And, so this stuff actually causes the beginnings of whatchamacallit, sickness and disease if you were healthy, but you're taking these tests because you're unhealthy. So you're just adding in more toxicity. So in other words, these things are causing like if you were healthy and you did these things, it would cause the beginning stages of sickness and disease, like by the side effects that they say, the rashes, the nausea, the vomiting, the allergic reactions, like the little skin irritations, the hives, like right here, nausea, hives, skin irritation, that like all those things, which should be temporary, whatever, but it's the beginning stages of sickness and disease if you were healthy. So how do you get to the beginning stages of sickness and disease? We just talked about that through toxicity, through toxins accumulating in your body, and you're not eliminating them, as quickly as they're being added in. So that's the thing. So and one of the ways that you get rid of those toxins is through your kidneys, right? So and if the very thing that you're getting tested for causes your kidneys not to function properly, then you're going to limit your ability to get rid of toxins, right? And then you're also adding in more toxins through that gadolinium, if you're doing MRIs, through the iodine-based stuff, if you're doing like the CAT scans, and all the different things, and like it's iodine, and like iodine could be good for you to a certain extent, right? But it's not iodine; it's iodine-based, substances, and those iodine-based substances, like those things, usually almost always consist of heavy metals and create heavy metal toxicity within you, right? Which is really what they say can be a leading cause of cancer, right? And it also can feed things later on when you get to the point where you have enough sickness and disease where parasites could live inside of you, which, by the way, they say that pretty much 100% of people that have cancer have parasites, because you're at a level, you're at the level that, at the vibration, the energy vibration that parasites could survive and thrive, right? Because it's all about energy and vibration and all that kind of stuff. So your vibration changes along the way in those different levels of sickness and disease. And that's why the different critters, some can live during some stages and not in others, because they can't live in those certain vibrations, right? It's whatchamacallit, and that's not like a necessarily like a woo-woo kind of thing. It's like a proven thing, and that's why people are doing all those like Rife and all the different energy, the Tesla machines and all that kind of shit these days, right? For that energy, and trying to grab the plasma from the from the ether and all that shit, right? So let's see. So we like you said, there's the MRI crash contrast agents, there's the CT scan, the contrast agents, which are the iodine, the barium sulfate, which both of those are highly toxic. So they have, like I said, like a lot of times the heavy metals and other toxins inside of them as well, and a lot of times they'll have like nanoparticle kind of stuff in there too. It's really crazy, the things that are thrown in there. And like I said, it's not just for cancer. There's a woman I know that she has chronic fatigue, and she's developed all kinds of things from that. And they did some work on her spine. They were removing some spinal fluid. They tested or do whatever, and they created a hole there in it, and she has like this euphoria now, and she has all kinds of problems from it because it didn't close back up properly. But they do all these tests, and she goes to these universities to do these high level studies and all this kind of stuff, and they literally put these dyes inside of her, and then they put her on this table that like rocks her back and forth, like sideways, every way, upside down, all this kind of stuff, supposedly so the dye could get spread throughout her whole body, and then they could see what's going on with whatever the hell they're trying to do, because it's chronic fatigue and these different things, like what are they trying to do with dyes, whatever. But like but the symptoms of those dyes that they're putting inside of her, some of them are like chronic fatigue, like, so they're the thing that she's trying to get better for, the dyes just from the tests cause that? You know, it doesn't make any sense. They definitely have a huge amount of toxicity, you know, but they're actually known for causing, you know, chronic fatigue. And then you give that type of stuff to somebody with chronic fatigue, you know, it's crazy. And then a lot of people with cancer also have chronic fatigue, right? So that's one of those things. But let me go over to some stuff over here. There's two things I want to talk about. So metal and MRI contrast agents may cause serious health problems. So I just wanted you to be aware that I'm not just making stuff up or thinking like, hey, I think there might be, you know, heavy metals, you know, which everybody's concerned about heavy metals these days, right? Especially people with parasites, because parasites feed that, like, they thrive off of heavy metals and other toxins, right? Like microplastics and especially heavy metals, though. They love heavy metals. They thrive off of it. That's why if you kill them or when they poop inside of you, that they're releasing heavy metals back into your system. So you might get rid of the kill the parasite, and haven't gotten rid of it yet, but all this toxicity is released back into you. So you have to have binders and things like that when you do that kind of stuff to be able to absorb those toxins and eliminate them from your body, or else you just may cause more sickness and disease inside of you. It's really crazy chess game that you have to play when you're trying to get healthy, when you're at these deep levels of sickness and disease. Okay, and I know it can be very confusing. Like you maybe even have to watch this on replay a few times to really grasp what we're getting into. And we're just like touching the surface. Like we're not going super deep with any of this right here, really. You know, we're just letting you be aware of what's going on with all of this. So the heavy metals in these contrast, not necessarily the MRI ones, but those iodine-based ones, the barium-based ones, all of them have that kind of toxicity. So here's another thing. With a lot of people are concerned about nanoparticles and like self-assembling ones, especially inside of you, and how there's risks that are associated with those things, and how they cause great harm inside of your body, right? And then there's also these days, like there's the carnivore diet and things like keto and things like that say plants are bad, you know, and eating plants is bad. You know, it used to be just the carbs are bad, but now it's like even green plants, eating green plants are bad. And like spinach, especially, because they say that spinach is high in oxalates or oxalic acid, right? And that oxalic acid can do great harm in your body, right? And even like nuts, like almonds, especially like almonds, you know, like other nuts too, but like the ones that you hear about is almonds because of like almond milk and stuff like that. But oh, hey guys, I didn't even notice the comments over there. But but yeah, the oxalates that are in like almonds and stuff like that. The reason you soak almonds for almond butter, or not almond butter, to make almond milk, or just to eat them, period, is because of that there are anti-nutrients, they call them, inside of some nuts and seeds to prevent them from sprouting, right? And some of them are oxalates or oxalic acid, and they can inhibit the absorption of minerals. And what that does to a seed or a nut is it prevents it from sprouting while you're storing it. So you add water to it, and it activates the enzymes, and it makes it like a living being again. It makes it enzyme active, and so it could, you know, grow into a plant and produce more of that nut or whatever that seed is. You know, whether it's, you know, broccoli or whatever it is, kind of a thing. So hopefully that makes sense. So when you soak almonds for like 6 to 8 hours, you know, overnight or whatever, then a lot of the what they call the anti-nutrients, including the oxalic acid, will go into the water. And then if you like rinse the almonds off, like pour that water out, it'll be murky. And then rinse the almonds off, more murky stuff will come off. That's a bunch of the stuff you don't want in there. But there's still going to be some oxalates and oxalic acid in greens and stuff like that. And they aren't necessarily bad for you unless they're in huge amounts, but anything in huge amounts can be bad for you. So here's where they can be bad for you at any amount though. All right. So, and it's the hidden risk of MRI contrast agents that create nanoparticles by coming in contact with oxalic acid. All right, and so that's what basically is what this, if you digest or decode what that headline means, that's what it means. And they're calling for safer imaging. And this is just from a Google search on dangers of the gadolinium. Gadolinium dangers, I think was the actual search. But it says in here that when the gadolinium comes in contact with the oxalic acid, that it turns into these nanoparticles that are like almost impossible to remove from your body. And so they say that the gadolinium that's inside of the MRI contrast dyes is like a chelated form of the gadolinium, and that chelated form can be eliminated from your body. Like regular gadolinium is known to break the blood-brain barrier and be absorbed into your brain and remain there and cause harm to your brain, and then go into your liver and your kidneys and other organ systems and cause harm there and remain there, and even through like detoxification processes, it's supposedly very hard to get rid of it once it's in there. But that chelated form is supposedly better for you, right? So what they don't say is that with that chelated form of gadolinium comes in contact with oxalic acid, which is in healthy foods, right? So you eat any healthy food, a green smoothie, whatever, it's going to have oxalic acid. You go do your so you're doing your green smoothies, you're juicing because you have cancer, and you're doing everything you can to beat the cancer. But you're also doing what the doctors tell you. You may or may not be doing chemo, you may or may not be doing radiation, but you're doing your tests every 3 months. You may be even doing blood work every month, and things like that, and you're getting and it may be MRIs or other things that are similar that could have the same kind of reaction, but this gadolinium for sure has this reaction to the oxalic acid where it creates these micronized nanoparticles that break the blood-brain barrier, get settled into your brain. So if you have brain cancer, it fucks that shit up, right? It gets deposited in your liver, deposited into your kidneys, all your elimination systems, right, that are important for decreasing toxicity. It messes those up. If you have cancer there, you could see what's going on, right? It's crazy. So the gadolinium itself, chelated form, I think it's super bad for you because it also has with it all those heavy metals and other things. It's not just gadolinium, and it's toxic in and of itself. Let's face it, whether it's chelated or not. But coming into contact with those oxalates, which they know that you're going to have inside of you, just from eating, period. But especially if you're trying to eat healthy and do these different protocols, like the Gerson protocol, or you're following the green smoothie person or this other whatever, and you're going to have those oxalates inside of you. It's going to come in contact with that stuff and create that toxic form, highly toxic form of gadolinium, even more toxic because now it's in this micronized nanoparticle form that could go anywhere. It could break the barrier, that blood-brain barrier, so it can get not just existing, within your blood, but within the cells themselves. Not just carried in the fluids, but it could actually go inside of the cells. It could break the barriers, those cell wall barriers, and get inside of that, and create toxicity within your cells. And then what do they say that cancer is? Oh yeah, it's toxicity inside your cells, which causes malfunction in your mitochondria, which causes you to not be able to process energy the same, which causes you to go into that fermentation stage, which causes that multiplication of that, which is cancer itself. Which you understand, right? Like the very thing that you're trying to eliminate in your body is what these tests will create inside of you. Like, you just have to accept that. You have to accept that, and then move on from there and say, what can I do from here on out? Like the first thing that'll pop into your head, especially if you're, which if pretty much everybody is brainwashed by the medical establishment. You're going to say, what am I going to do? I need to get tested. I need to know if I'm getting worse. I need to know if I'm all these things that I'm trying are working or not. What the fuck should I do, right? And there's two things. That the easiest thing to do, the very easiest thing to do is just to prolong the test. Prolong the period in between testing. But in between those times of testing, you're like on point with a program that has those multiple protocols that, like the RSO protocols, that we deal with hardcore, whatchamacallit, detoxing protocols, fasting protocols, all these different things. You do all of that stuff 100% on point, not just picking and choosing what sounds good to you. But doing everything that needs to be done on point in between, so you can expect a positive result, right? Like a positive outcome, like things getting lowered and things like that, right? Like whatever kind of markers, instead of being high, they're showing at a much lower rate, or ultimately it's gone and there's no detectable cancer or chronic illness inside of you. Right, which is the ultimate goal. So increasing, to 6 months, 9 months, a year. Preferably it would be 9 months or a year. And do everything badass in between. Because 6 months to 9 months, if you do like everything super like on point, it definitely used to be enough time to overcome the cancer, like, and if it's possible, like I said, it's not 100% guaranteed for everybody, but for the people that it's possible for, it could either be like eliminated or like almost there within 6 to 9 months if you do everything on point. Like, and I mean everything though. Like I said, not just picking and choosing, not just doing RSO, but doing everything. All right, but So that's why I say like 9 months is what, if it was me, it would be 9 months to a year. I would to tell you the truth, like I wouldn't even get tested to see if I had cancer. Like I have like some parasite shit going on inside me. I had like a bunch of stuff going on, which I'm still battling right now, and I'm overcome like greatly, like 10,000% and stuff like that over the past. I deal with it for a few years. And it was brutal. It almost fucking killed me. Like I feel like 3 years ago, I thought like, wow, what's going on? I might die, But like today, I'm like crazy awesome, health wise, and because I was able to figure a bunch of these different things out, and I'm able to understand if sickness and disease is inside me because I could feel it, and I just get do things to get better. Anytime I've ever done any kind of tests though along the way, like people wanted to I have done a couple, like not these kind of tests, but tests that just show your overall health and stuff like that, like your levels of minerals and vitamins and antioxidants and all the other bullshit that they test for, right? Like every single time over the years that I've had those tests, they've been off the charts, amazing. Like I remember one time they're like most people are like for this one test, they're like most people are like I forget what the numbers were regarding, but if most people are at 2,000, and if you're healthy, you should be like about 8,000. And when I took the test, I was at like 49,000, right? And then they thought the thing was broken, and they did it a few times. And the woman that had been working with me, that just overcame all kinds of shit, and she was like our like poster child for like a decade. But she did she did everything right, and everything, she reacted good to everything, like so her body accepted everything that she did, and she took the test, and like 9,000 is good. I was at 42,000 of whatever this fucking test measured for. She was at 60 something thousand, like more than me. I was like, because like we weren't preparing for this test. It was just like some person trying to sell us this machinery to test people's levels of health, and she just happened to be there doing a consultation with me while this person came in, and he tested me to show me like how it works, and expected it to be low so I could be higher and whatever, and buy whatever his stuff was, and like he had never seen that, and then he tested that lady and never seen that either, because hers was better. So like I have had tests along the way, like that was just one instance. There's several instances with other things, including blood work for like life insurance and stuff like that, where it just like comes back crazy awesome, So I know, like I've also done muscle testing, naturopathic muscle testing, and energetic testing, and all that kind of shit too. That way people tell me that everything is off the charts. So as far as levels of health that way too. So what I do works for me, and it works for a bunch of other people too. But that being said, the reason I was talking about that is because I'm not a good example of this, because I would not get tested for the stuff, because I would not allow any of that shit inside of my body, right? It's just the way it is. The only time I've ever had any kind of MRI or CAT scan is when I passed out one time, and I woke up in the hospital, didn't know where I was at, and I was trying to fight my way out of there, and they dosed me with some shit and knocked me out for 3 days, and did testing with me when I was passed out, and I believe that put up a lot of toxicity in me, and that's after I was in the 2003 or whatever, in 2001, somewhere around there, and I was a little sick after that, and eventually I got parasites, like fucking, and I had never had shit like that before. It was crazy. So whatchamacallit, but that's being part of the medical industrial complex, and what that does for you. They literally had to knock me out to get that shit inside me. It's crazy, but I know other people that instead of getting tested every 3 months, they'll get tested every like 9 months to a year. Some people 6 months, but not 9 months to a year, and just do stuff badass along the way, and they're usually the ones that have the quicker success, right? And success meaning either the cancer is non-detectable, so no detectable cancer in the body, or it's in massive remission, like almost there. Those are the people. The ones that do like the RSO protocol on point, and they do like healthy eating, and they'll do some fasting here or there, or a detox, and do some juices or green smoothies and stuff like that. They but they get tested fairly often, like every 3 months and even every 6 months. Those are the ones that it takes them longer, like instead of like 6 to 9 months or like a year, or something like that to get the outcome that you want. It might like take 2 or 3 or 4 years, especially with today's world and the level of toxicity that we're exposed to. And others, they just end up sort of living with the cancer. they're not getting worse, but they're not, and they're able to function and be in society and know whatever, they have cancer, but they never actually eliminate it. They just sort of live with it, right? And that's not a good place to be, because like just one bad little incident, one bad time in your life where things go haywire, and you don't have access to all the things that you are used to taking, and for even just a week or two, you could make yourself go in massive reverse, because you're just teetering on the borderline. You're not at vibrant health. You're just sort of maintaining cancer, which is like that doesn't make any sense. And so that to me, like the goal would be to eliminate it and be in a position of vibrant health, and just maintain that, do the maintenance protocols and stuff like that that go along with what preventing the reoccurrence of cancer, but doing that, but just by maintaining vibrant health, or striving to get towards the vibrant health, and always striving for that, and eventually obtaining and maintaining that, right? So hopefully that makes sense of all this toxicity. So there's also toxicity in the, so that's the dyes, that's the for the MRIs, the one that's used for the MRIs, and then the gadolinium, and then the iodine-based ones, and the barium sulfates. The CT scans have the iodine, the X-rays have the barium sulfates, and then there's all that. But there's also could be some dangers in the actual risks of the scans that themselves. So they say MRI doesn't really have the inherent dangers of a CT scan, right? I mean, if you look at the machinery that you're being put inside of with that, that's bullshit. You just got to understand that's bullshit. Or like you said, you just been brainwashed, and you need to, break through, break out of the eggshell, and so you can see what's really going on in life. Get those blinders taken off so you can really see what's going on, and understand, that's that's not the case. Those MRIs definitely have a bunch of, bad energy that's put inside of you, during the time that you're put inside of that thing. That's why it's in a room by itself, and that's why you're, in that thing by itself. It's not just, just let that shit float around, right? You have to be inside of this thing, and in a room, that's blocked off. In other words, you could do it in the lobby, you could do it in a fucking mall, which isn't the case, right? So, so the CT scans, they're known to have crazy amounts of, the whatever ionizing radiation, whatever they call it, and way more than just your normal X-ray. And the X-rays, they're known to have the ionizing radiation in and of themselves, and you don't want to be exposed to any of those. So the scans themselves, they have they have inherent dangers. The dyes and the other contrast solutions that are used for, as it's a find markers or whatever they're trying to do with them. They also have toxins, and create toxicity, and actually cause the symptoms of dis-ease that you're trying to eliminate by taking the tests, right? So so hopefully you understand that, and hopefully you understand that you could greatly reduce the exposure to those toxins by lengthening the time. It's that simple, right? If you're getting them every 3 months, and you break it out to 9 months or 12 months, then you're getting, a third or a fourth the toxicity in a year than you normally would, right? You're getting, 67% or 75% less toxicity, that way than you normally would in a year's time. And that could only benefit you. All right. But remember, you want to be doing everything right in between. You like if you want in between, if you're doing them every 3 months, you want to be doing everything right, like as far as your nutrition, as far as the supplementation, including the cannabinoids and minerals, etc. You want to be doing all that stuff on point all the time. But the reason I say you need to especially be doing it on point if you're waiting 9 months to a year for your tests, and tests are something that you like super rely on and that you believe in. The reason for that is because if you were used to doing them every 3 months, and now you're doing them every 9 months, there's going to be like some anxiety and stress that forms in between that time, especially the first time, right? And that we're like, I don't know. Am I going backwards? Am I going to die? Cause it's serious stuff. It's not like it's not it's not a cold. It's cancer, right? It's serious stuff. The end outcome isn't good. So you get worried. But if you do everything on point, and you know that you're doing everything on point, and the only outcome that's possible with what you're doing is health, and if that's unattainable, then then maybe you're just one of those people that that it wasn't in the cards for. But that's a very small percentage of people, though. It is a very small percentage of people. So because like they say, like about 1 to 3% of the people that have cancer, not 1 to 3% of the people that exist in the world, but 1 to 3% of the people that have cancer because they were going to get it no matter what, and they're going to die from it no matter what, right? So that's not lining up 100 people that you see out in the streets. That's lining up 100 people that have cancer. Like between 1 and 3 of those people, we're going to have cancer, and we're going to die from it no matter what, right? That was just the cards they were dealt. Like there was some malfunction, when their body was being formed inside of the womb. Everybody else, those 97 to 99 people, it is possible, or potentially possible, if they do things right, and like nutritionally, through food and supplementation, mindset wise, and reducing toxicity environmentally, through the food, air, and water, etc., through the cleaning chemicals, and through the testing and stuff like that as well. So all of that, all of that being done, so there is no other outcome that can be had. So you can have the peace of mind that knowing, okay, that so you have like that outcome, and you have this daily regimen, and you're just and this, if I do this daily regimen, then this outcome will happen, right? And when I get that next test, I'll know that that's correct. And if it is going in a certain direction, or things are the same or whatever, because things should be better after that period of time, then I know that I need to adjust some things. But we're talking total health, like there is not what, like there's no like thing in there that in between that period of time that is bad for you. So the tweaks are very, very minimal, and that's where someone like me can come in, that helps with like understanding what those tweaks can be and what they are, etc. But but also, like I said, it's like a peace of mind thing, is knowing that you've done everything correctly, and whether you did tests every 3 months or every 9 months or whatever, the same outcome would have happened, because there's nothing better you could have done for your nutrition, basically. And then like not everybody's perfect, obviously, and it's like, hey, I might mess up, or hey, my daughter's getting married, and I'm gonna have champagne, or I'm gonna have like eat a piece of cake at her wedding or whatever. What happens if I mess up or whatever. So not everybody's perfect, but there's, if you do like mess up for some reason, as far as like diet or something like that, your eating patterns, or you quote unquote have to because of this once in a lifetime event, not like a Chamber of Commerce event that happens weekly, but this once in a lifetime, like, yeah, your only child is getting married or something, and you're going to go off the reservation eating for a little bit. That's just that one meal, you know. It's not even the whole day. It's just that one meal, right? So people have to understand that kind of stuff, you know. And just because you're going to go off the reservation for one meal doesn't mean you have to go off the reservation for the whole day, and especially not that whole week or the rest of your life, right? You know, so understand that, you know. So if you do go off, if you eat something that's bad by accident, you don't like, oh, I'll eat better tomorrow. It's like, oh, I ate bad today. I ate bad right now, or I ate something. Then I'm not going to do that anymore. You know, they call it at the red light scenario, right? You know, like when people eat something bad, they say, I'll start eating better again tomorrow, or next Monday, or next month, right? And people do that with food and their health, but they don't do that with like red lights. So if you run a red light, you don't go, fuck, I ran a red light. Well, screw it. I'm going to run red lights the rest of the day. I'll get better tomorrow. Or I'll run red lights, you know, the rest of the month. I'll start stopping at red lights, you know, next month. You know, they don't, that sounds ridiculous, right? But they do that with their diet. But, you know, they do that with their diet. But, you know, what do you do after you run a red light? You start driving better. So if you are eating well and then you fall off for some reason because you forgot, because there was a wedding or whatever, then you just go right back into place. You don't wait till the next day or the next week or the next month. Immediately, as soon as you recognize it, start eating well again, and you just take care of it, and then have that peace of mind again. Not going, oh, I'm a loser. No, I'm a winner because I understood when I messed up. You know, I understood when something almost went astray, you know, and went into a bad habit, and I was able to recognize it and overcome it, and I'm going to be even better because of that. And having that mindset, you know, to where you are in control, that's everything, because that develops the warrior mindset, which is one of the missing links for a lot of people when they have cancer, right? You know, because like there's the supplementation, there's the cannabinoids, you know, which is part of that. There's the food, and there's the mindset, you know, and having that warrior mindset is the thing, you know. Like the people, here's another, for instance, you know, an example, like the people that have come to me, like really, like with, you know, late stage cancer and stuff like that are really worried, and they're always worried, and they a lot of them, they don't end up making it, you know. There are several people that have been sent home with like 2 months to live, or, you know, 1 month to live, you know, or whatever, 6 months to live. And, you know, some people, like, we're not doing chemo for you. We're taking you off all medication. Just go take care of your affairs. And we have had several people in those situations that have beaten their cancer, like literally beaten their cancer. Like their hair grows back and it's full, and like everything. Like it's they're badass again. They're not just existing, like just trying to like survive through life. They're working. They're living life. They're off the sidelines. But those people, like pretty much every single one of them, are ones that came to me and said, "Hey, I know you can help me. Like, we're gonna beat this thing." And they had that mindset to just fucking, you know, take it head on. And they did what it took, you know, to beat it. And you know, I'm not going to go too much into that, but that's, you know, that mindset thing is a big deal. It is huge, right? So that pretty much is the gist of the presentation. I just wanted to go over how you know, the what toxicity is, you know, and what it does to your body, how it creates cancer, how it promotes cancer to exist inside of you once it's formed, how to prolong and you know, even grow more and stuff like that. You know, how eliminating toxins can help eliminate cancer, you know, by putting your body into a state where it can, you know, get rid of it, which is what, you know, more terrain theory and holistic thinking, you know, a holistic mindset, and then understanding that there are toxins within those tests that they give people for chronic illness, including cancer, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, so minimizing the exposure to those tests because they have toxins in them, like by extending the period of time, like preferably 9 months or a year. Some people will choose for 6 months, but that's much better than 3 months. That's spreading it out 100% more, right? So that's awesome in and of itself. But understanding all those things, understanding the contrast dyes have toxins, the dye itself, what's in it, like the MRI, the gadolinium, whatever, is toxic, but all the other things that are in there that accompany it, are toxic as well. There's crazy amounts of toxicity, not just one form, like multiple forms in those contrast solutions, whether it's for a CT scan, which is the gadolinium, the MRI is the gadolinium, the CT scan is the iodine based whatever solution, and then the X-rays is the barium based solutions, mainly, right? Those have toxicity inside them. So the last thing I want to talk about, if there's any questions, about it, and yes, Diana, that's awesome that you came to that conclusion. Hey, John, good to see you, and Megan, Laura, Luke, Peaceful Waters, awesome. Rio, yeah, cool. And then and Diane. So yeah, great to see you guys. But so the thing about all of this that you might have gotten is or a question that might have popped in your head is like, you mentioned doing everything right, doing everything on point, and all that kind of stuff, and not picking and choosing, or not just doing what's technically healthy, and to try to get healthy. Like what can I do? And there's one other thing that I want to talk about. I mention it a lot, but I want to mention it here too, because if you hear it enough times, it'll sink in. What it takes to get healthy is not the same thing as what it takes to be healthy. Okay? I'll say that one more time. What it takes to get healthy is not the same thing as what it takes to be healthy. All right? So people oftentimes, when they're unhealthy, they'll go, oh shit, I'm unhealthy, I need to start eating healthy, right? So they eat in the way that it takes to be healthy, to remain healthy if you were healthy. But that's not enough, okay? If you're already in a state of sickness and disease, and depending on which level, from 1 to 6, you have to be more aggressive with what you're doing. Because there's higher levels of toxicity that you need to get rid of inside of your body. And so you have to do that, and you have to do things that will do that for you, which could be, a bunch of different things that we won't get into just for time's sake. But, you do those things, and then there's more resilient ways of eating, for lack of a better term, and not eating that you do along the way to get into better states of health. And then when you are in those better states of health, like for people with cancer, no detectable cancer, then you eat in a way to be healthy, to stay healthy. And that's the maintenance. But you're not in maintenance if you have cancer. You need to be way more aggressive. And if in the later stage of cancer that you are, the later stage of sickness and disease that you are, the closer to death, in other words, because that's serious shit, right? So if say it how it is, the closer to death that you are prematurely, then the more aggressive you have to be nutritionally and stuff like that. That's why, if you're like at stage 4 cancer, then as an example with RSO, like you're doing 1 gram a day, and that's just the deal. Like if you are at stage 1, you can get away with less. You can get away with 600 milligrams or something, and 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 do the other things correctly, like we're going to talk about in a second. But but at stage 4, there is no stage after that. Like stage 1, there's stage 2 and 3. Stage 4, there's death. So hopefully that makes sense. Like you have to be more resilient, more hardcore with your diet, which includes the supplementation, and then also the mindset. You have to like be way more resilient because you have the sickness and disease, so that can cause stress and anxiety, and you have to be able to like the cannabinoids help to fight off anxiety and stress, because it helps to balance your brain function. But still, you have the sickness and disease inside of you, so that you have to develop. It's your brain is for lack of a better term, a muscle, and that warrior mindset is like a muscle. It's like a strong mind, a strong mind muscle. It's a strong mind. And you have to, to just start developing that, and it develops by being around a positive community. Like, so you join our free community, and be in there and be in positivity. I'm in there, constantly, and I've been doing this since 1987. The group's only been around for a couple months, so it's not that huge. But it's free to join. There'll be links down below with the video or whatever, if you're seeing us on YouTube, and then but there's protocols and all kinds of stuff in there. But the main thing about it is there's people with a positive mindset in there that are doing what they need to do to battle, whatever's going on inside of them, whether it's cancer, chronic pain, leukemia, whatever it is, So that being said, not everybody knows for sure what what to do, right? Not everybody understands what are those things that I should be doing in between my tests to get better, not just to stay at status quo, but to actually allow my body to heal, to build your immune system enough to where it could conquer what's going on inside of you. Like how do I figure out or find out what to do? Most people, and I was talking with a young man earlier about this. Most people, they search on the internet and they'll find certain things. They'll find I'm considered like the RSO guy. So they'll find someone like me, and do the RSO thing. And they'll try to find some different things about diet, and maybe some things about, they heard about a fast or something. And so they read up on some fast thing, or type into AI, like what's a water fast, and then they'll go in and, maybe a detox or some juicing or green smoothies, but it's not put together into a program, right? And then the people usually do it like haphazardly. They'll do like one thing at a time. They'll try green smoothies, then they'll try this, other hyperbaric chambers, and and the Rife machine or the Tesla machine or whatever, and they'll do all these different things, but like not together as a program. They'll just do them one at a time. So there are places like the Gerson Institute, GERSON, Gerson Institute, and that have protocols. They don't have the RSO, the cannabinoids, but they have they have like food, and like the smoothies, and the coffee enemas and things like that, that can be done along the way. That in other words, they have a program. And there's a few other places that have program like theirs is good. If you read up on I think his name is Max Gerson. Read up on him. He was actually killed. Because he actually was helping people with cancer, so he was poisoned and killed. But his daughter took it on, and the Gerson Institute was opened in Tijuana, Mexico, and I actually met her I think it was 2001 or somewhere around there, a long time ago, before she passed away. And she was spot on with her thinkings about like diet and the way your body heals itself. Like you don't heal cancer, you don't heal this. You just provide your body with the proper substances to be able to have no sickness and disease living inside of you. So that's the proper form of thinking, as opposed to the medical way of thinking. And like, so as a little side note, most natural healers and most holistic, whatever kind of people out there, including naturopaths, they still use allopathic, medical industrial complex ways of thinking, especially like naturopaths and people like that. They still do like testing every 3 months, and they still do like these specific supplements that'll help this specific thing, like so this one thing, like a one medication helping this specific thing, as opposed to the whole of the food, or the whole of the plant helping the whole of the body, right? And it's a different way of thinking, and that way of thinking is incorrect. It's been proven, like their whole thing is it's a disaster. Allopathic medicine is the disaster on purpose too, right? Like they're killing people on purpose, and people are paying for it. So so having the other way of thinking is vital. Those programs usually cost a lot of money, and they don't have the RSO involved with them, right? So and some of them believe in it, some of them don't. It's really cool. There's a woman that's doing the Gerson protocol right now, that just came on with MyFitLife and MOVIDA, and which is us, and we got our RSO tinctures, the daytime and nighttime formula, basically approved through the Gerson Institute to take alongside their protocol. Okay, because they don't do oils, and it's a cannabis oil, and then we have in the tincture we have a carrier oil. So it had to be healthful and all this kind of stuff for them to, because they're like sort of oil free, in the way they think. They do a lot of like green juicing. They have a specific green juice, and carrot juicing, and carrot orange juice, and like I said, the coffee enemas, all kind of stuff, And there's people that have success, that I've known along the way, and they have like a support group that has success people on there too, I think. I'm not saying that you should go do them, or by any means, but it was just sort of cool that they have the same sort of philosophy as me. They don't do the cannabis, but maybe now they will, because if this person gets the results that she should by doing both protocols together, then it should be off the charts amazing, and then they might bring the RSO on. You never know. But in the meantime, what I'm doing is I developed a just put all my stuff together, the cleansing and detoxification, the fasting, the prepping for the fasting, the biofilm busting, the the stuff that you do beyond cleansing, detoxification, and fasting, because all those three, cleansing is different than detoxing, and detoxing is different than fasting, right? So those are three different things, and then what to do beyond that, depending on the level of sickness or wellness or cancer or whatever you want to have, is going on inside you, what to do from there, all that kind of stuff. I developed a program to help guide people through that process, right? And it's going to be something like in a few months, like probably February or March, where I sell it to new people that are, just first come to me, not people that are existing clients that are already taking RSO, but people that are newer. It'll be a whole package that they have. So there's, because there's all kinds of things that, like the other supporting supplements. There's even like anti-parasitic stuff, natural, the more natural stuff like the wormwood and, the clove oil and the black walnut, all that shit, or the more, a little bit more what we'll call hardcore stuff like ivermectin and fenben and some other stuff that can be done to help with the biofilm, like that kind of stuff. Having access to those things that that's actually good, and then and not some bogus bullshit or that has like nano-sized particles inside of it and stuff like that could actually cause harm to you. Having that'll all be like inclusive in that program. Along with the diet, all the RSO, like everything will be all inclusive. But for between now and then, I want to get some case studies going on some people, and I would prefer it to be people that are existing inside of the the community, the MyFitLife community, and because they're the people that are trying the hardest, and some of them are doing a bunch of good stuff, but they're just not putting it together in a proper format, which is the program, right? So what I want to do for these people is, because part of the deal is, and part of that program, that's going to be launched in February or March, whenever it is, sooner if possible, will be weekly meetings, like weekly, preferably like a web meeting, but phone meetings work as well. I've had success in the past because I've tried this a couple of times and had massive success. Now I want to try it with a small group to see if we could have success with everybody in that group, and then and perfect everything to where it's an actual program that's legit to be able to have other practitioners be able to dole it out, through standard operating procedures. So basically, that's what I'm doing. I'm developing the standard operating procedures for the program between here and now, and I want to do it live with the case studies because I know what to do. I've had people do it, in segments before. I've had 2 people do it in a put together scenario, and both of them had great success. And one of them was a breast cancer, and one of them was I think it was either prostate or colon cancer. I can't remember right now because the Black Friday and all that, or the holiday special and everything. Just my mind's fried from all that. But I think it was something down there like colon cancer or prostate cancer or something. It was a woman and a man that I worked with. So it had great success. So what I'm doing for these people that are part of the community, that are interested in this, like I would like to do everything else. I'm doing the RSO correctly, the way you told me to do it, and I'm even doing other stuff. I'm doing my, I'm even doing the Shilajit and the MSM, which is absolutely fucking necessary. That's what, and I call it the trifecta of health, for a reason. But how to get the information for that? I'm taking on like 3, maybe 4 people because we're only meeting every week, and I'm not necessarily asking for extra money for it. What I'm doing is like the supplements that I provide for people, like you would buy those obviously from me, and the other supplements that you would take that would be provided normally in the program when it's a bought and paid for complete program. You would get those as well, and then you would just meet with me every week to give the feedback so I could help you with the adjustments for the protocol. So all those meetings, those weekly meetings that would normally be have a monetary value, attached to it, I'm doing for free, as long as but you would have to agree to do the diet stuff, which could include detoxing and cleansing and juicing and water fasting to certain degrees, and doing them when they're recommended, for the different stages. and then you would have to do the supplements and the supporting supplements, and we would also discuss like the supplements that you're currently taking, and most of them would be removed for other stuff that's put in place, of what we recommend over here. And because it's not just those three, those are the top three, but there's others, that can be done. And if there's some that are being taken, or medications that are being taken that are absolutely necessary for a certain thing, then you continue to take those. That's not a problem at all. It's just that the ones that can potentially do harm, or that are unnecessary, or that is being taken care of through a different supplement that we have, you would just have to agree that those ones you would remove and replace with things that are recommended, and which aren't necessarily things that we sell or would make money off of you, but they're beneficial to the protocol and to your health. So you would just agree to take those, and then like I said, that all the weekly consultations would be for free, and it would be for a period of 4 to 6 months that we did this together, and then evaluate from there, because you're already, because if you're from the MyFitLec community, especially, you're doing the RSO already, and you're doing things. So just plugging in the other things that need to be done, with like the food, the supplementation, the cleansing, the detoxification, the fasting, all that different stuff being put in, and doing it, when your body's ready for it, that'll just amplify, where you're at, and you should be able to see some really, really good results in that period of time. Okay, so I have one person for sure that I spoke with earlier, that I mentioned it to, that is doing it. So I have like 2 to 3 spots available. And if you, hey Nigel, glad to see you here. What we call it? Awesome. Very good. And then, so the, if you like want to do it, then just tell me, and we'll lock you in, or I'll lock you in, because you'll be doing this the consultations directly with me, and like I said, it could greatly increase. I mean, I'm sure that you obviously see the benefit in doing something like this, but just on just to reinforce, it'll make sure that you're doing not only the good stuff, but at the time that your body is ready to accept it. Because like one of the women that is in our community, she works at a really awesome cancer clinic. It's called Cosenta, and it's over here in Arizona. And she works there. They do really, really good stuff there, but and they tell people to do 3-day water fasts, which is like the little buzzword and the little time frame that's buzzing around the internet these days, but they don't do anything to prep the body for it. So, and like I said, that could actually do more harm than good. If you so you have to prep the body through cleansing, through detoxification, and sometimes through even juicing, and then get to the water fast stage. So your not just your mind, but your body is biologically ready for it. All right, because like your mindset might be ready on day 1, but your body isn't biologically ready for it, and so you have to have the patience, to get your body ready for it, and the persistence and willingness to get there. So that's where the patience, persistence, and consistency comes in. PPC. You be patient, persistent, and consistent with your protocol, and that's all that I ask that you do is to follow it and do the weekly meetings with me, and not have like these excuses not to have the meetings every week. Like something comes up every week, and all of a sudden, like 2 months down the road, we haven't had a meeting. And at that point, I would have to stop the guidance kind of thing. So like the only payment I'm asking is for you to do the meetings, basically. That's it, right? And put up with talking to me for like a half hour or whatever, or 20 minutes, once a week, because it's not going to be these super long meetings. It'll literally be checking in, making sure things are on track, adjusting things if need be, and making sure the mindset's there. So that's another benefit of the weekly of the overall program and the weekly meetings as keeping the mindset up and healthy. Developing that warrior mindset. Because that's all. That's I've had to develop that, and that's what I have. Have that for everything, right? A national champion for powerlifting. I won the nationals twice, second in the world, 6 state records. Beat every health challenge. Beat like everything. Like 17 years to figure out how to beat the glaucoma. Went blind and got my vision back. All that stuff that they said is not even possible. So and it's a muscle, like we said, that you develop. So yeah, Diane, if you want to be in there, you're a perfect person to be in there. So that's awesome. And so that would mean we have like 1 or 2 spots available. All right. So I'm gonna if you guys have any questions, and you're welcome to ask, and I'll stay on here for a couple of minutes, whatever, to see if you have any questions. Awesome, Diane, I see that, and we'll mark you down. And so otherwise, though, this will be in the live stream, the live stream section of YouTube, and also in our free group, the Cannabis Oil Secrets group, which is on school.com, school with a K. And if you see this on YouTube or something, the link to the free group will be in the description. And then if you're in the free group, then this live stream will be posted in the classroom section, and there will be a breakdown of like a PDF breakdown of the live stream. So like you don't have to like try to search around. Like I know they talked about XYZ during the thing. When was it? And this is like 90 minutes long, so trying to find that might be sort of hard. So there'll be chapters that for it as well, but I'll also have it in a PDF, and so you'll be able to see each section and like, oh, there's this section I was looking for, and then look for that chapter, and voila, right? And then so that'll be in there, and then you can also ask questions further about the about what we talked about on this live stream or anything else, and this health related, or you can let me know that you want to be part of this beta program. Let's call it a beta program, moving forward. All right. So I don't see any questions. So that's basically it. Thank you guys for being part of the community. We appreciate you, and you guys are doing awesome. I'm really amazed at the resiliency and that people have and doing what it takes to get healthy. So good job, guys. Okay, bye-bye.